What exactly is the right age to engage kids in phonics? The question has always been whether there is a direct correlation between the time or the age when this happens or begins and the child's ability to read. So in this video, I'm going to discuss some of my findings when I did a little bit of research on this. Let's take it from the top. So before I continue in this video, I'm going to say that if you enjoy such content, you might consider subscribing, as this helps me, and also this will help me recommend this particular video to other people who might need it. So we all know what phonics are. Oh, well, do we? Now, sometimes the misconception is that we think phonics are sounds, but actually phonics is a methodology. It's actually a method for teaching the sounds of a language to a child. So it's like the science of sounds. Now, a lot of times when we talk about phonics, when we say phonics, what we are referring to are actually phonemes. Yes, phonemes form the fundamental, the basic units of audible language. So the a, b, k, they're all phonemes, not phonics. So let's just clear that. Let's get that out of the way. So in this video, when we are talking about phonics, we're actually talking about a method for teaching kids the sounds of a language. Now, there are a couple of phonics that are available. So for instance, one of them is a synthetic phonics, which deals with a method of breaking down the sounds of the words into their basic units or into their phonemes, and then they are taught to the kid. So for instance, in teaching the child how to say cat, we're going to have the k as a phoneme, and we're going to break it down. We're going to do the a, and we're going to do the t. So cat, that is called synthetic phonics. And there is also another method that is the whole language approach, which is actually used in places like UK and other countries a lot often. And in this particular methodology, it deals with actually the use of stories and picture-based learning in order to teach kids. So, because it is like relating what they see to words and patterns in what they read. So there are basically a lot of diverse thoughts as to what age is right to actually start a kid on phonics. And some people like you that are 3 to 4 years. Some people say when they get to first year of primary school. Some people say in kindergarten. Some people say earlier. I mean, you can do that with 2 to 3 year old kids. But then fundamentally, what you would find is that it all says that the earlier the better. And when I refer to the earlier the better, or earlier in this particular statement, it's not necessarily referring to an age, but then it's actually referring to readiness. So for instance, you need to be able to identify and figure out whether the child or the student is ready to learn phonics. And how exactly do you figure that out? So let's say you're reading a book to a child and you figure that the child knows 80% of those words that you're reading to the child already, then it might as well be the right time to actually start the child on phonics. But then if you're reading a book to the child, you're talking about cat, dog, fish, and they don't know the words already, I think it might be a little baseless or pointless to actually start letting them to read or identify things that they actually do not know. So sometimes the mistake we make here is trying to actually import the method that we use in teaching kids who are native English speakers and try to apply that with kids who are ESL learners. Now, that's a whole different story, and it's different because kids who are native speakers actually can speak a lot of English before they go to school. So for instance, even the 2-3 year olds, by the time they get into school, know significantly a whole lot of words in their native language. It's not just English. Kids who speak Chinese know a lot of Chinese before they go to school. Kids who speak French, kids who speak almost every other language. They actually know a lot of their language before they get into school because parents do a lot of that at home. Now, ESL learners, in most situations or in most circumstances, they actually get to school in order to learn the language. And therefore, if you want to start a child on phonics who has absolutely minimum of 0 to 9 vocabulary, it's going to be a whole lot difficult. Just to keep that in mind. I'm not saying that this is something you should not do at all, but I'm saying you should keep in mind that the process is going to be a little more cumbersome and you're going to have to put in a lot more effort if you want them to actually start some things like character recognition, if you want them to actually start some things like CVC and blending and all that, then it means you're going to have to put in a whole lot more effort when you want to start that with kids who know absolutely nothing when it comes to the vocabulary in English. So basically, this is what I do personally. This is what my teaching process is when it comes to teaching and learning from the time the kids have to come in and they're new and they don't know anything at all when it comes to English, to taking them through to the point of being able to read. One of my classes just graduated, and so it's really it's a proud feel when you see that they can actually read English when they came in and they knew nothing at all. So what I usually do, I first start them on a whole lot of songs, and this is gonna help with correction of differentiating what their native language is, the sounds they make with that, the phonemes of their main native language and the phonemes that apply to the English language. That's the first thing I do. So I usually do a whole lot of songs, singing and all that. We sing a whole lot of kids songs. And then the second thing I would do is I will then bring up a lot of vocabulary. I'm going to teach them cat, I'm going to teach them dog, I'm going to teach them animals, colors, numbers, a whole lot. And through the speaking of those words, they're gonna familiarize with the words, they're gonna increase their vocabulary, and also they're gonna cement firmly how English sounds in their head before I would actually start phonics. Then in starting phonics, we're gonna do apple, ball, cat, and then from there we're gonna go to character recognition. We're gonna figure out what A is, what B is, what C is, and the sounds that come with them. So I know there's a whole lot that have to do with you actually teaching the sounds that are associated with the letter. So for instance, when you're starting phonics, you don't need to teach the letter A. The child doesn't need to know A, but first need to associate A with the letter A. Yeah, there's a whole school of thought on all of these things, and we are not talking about that in this video. It's gonna be a whole lot another video. So thank you for watching this one. I will say that this video is not about teaching sounds and general teaching methodology. That will come in another video, but I want to say thank you for watching this all the way to the end. Do subscribe, like this video, share for others who would actually need it. Thank you so much. I'll catch you in the next one.